Is that stack of decaying wood meant to be a boat? Remove it from here so we don't have to see it. The group of young people at Newford Marina burst into laughter. The small wooden boat, aged and worn, appeared diminutive amidst the lines of shining yachts. The elderly man perched on the bow, his hands quivering as he secured the anchor rope. He remained silent, not even glancing up. Moments later, the whirring of rotor blades echoed through the air as a military helicopter touched down just behind them. What occurred? What caused the whole marina to become quiet? Come along as we delve into a narrative that will prompt you to pause and reflect on a pair of words. Honor. Newford Marina, Maryland. On a Sunday morning, at the City Yacht Club's special event. A group of affluent young yacht owners had just docked when they noticed the old boat named Dawn Watcher anchored at the head of the pier. The operator, an elderly man with white hair, donned in a weathered sailor's jacket, meticulously polished a small bronze memorial plaque affixed to the boat's bow. A girl on TikTok suggested filming a before and after clip, transforming from trash to resort. A young man shouted, "Hey old man, clear that pile of rotten wood away so that decent folks can enjoy something nice." The dock guard attempted to protect the old man but was quickly silenced. "This port is private today, he hasn't registered." One person attempted to assist but was met with the response, "Focus on your own reputation, this is not the right environment for such things." The elderly gentleman remained silent, simply lowering his gaze. He retrieved a small flag from a wooden box and positioned it at the bow of his boat. The laughter went on. An empty beer can was even tossed into the water. The marina staff sensed unease but refrained from intervening. The yacht club had secured the entire dock for their private event, attended by the children of prominent members. One staff member quietly suggested to the old man that he might consider moving to the public dock. However, Henry Briggs merely shook his head with a soft motion. "I've been visiting this place for 3 decades, my boy. This place holds significance." The youthful crowd became more daring. One of them began recording from a closer distance to the boat. "Take a look at this, everyone. This is the outcome of not enhancing your life. Are you stuck in the past?" Another yacht arrived, music blaring. The wake from their engine tossed the small wooden boat around fiercely. Henry needed to hold onto the railing to regain his balance. "Oh no," the driver chuckled. "Apologies, I missed the, whatever that object is." A woman adorned in lavish jewelry cast a disdainful glance at Henry. This is precisely why improved marina management is essential. How can this be permitted in a premium facility? The TikTok girl focused closely on the memorial plaque, attempting to decipher the text inscribed on it. What is this old, rusty object? Is this a sort of participation trophy? Henry's aged hands shook slightly as he gently draped a clean cloth over the plaque. His gaze avoided theirs, yet the anguish in his expression was unmistakable. A security guard came over, appearing both regretful and resolute. "Sir, I must request that you move to another location. There are concerns raised by the event organizers." The elderly man rose gradually, his joints rigid from decades of service at sea. "I understand," he said softly, "but I'll need a few more minutes." "What's the hold-up?" someone exclaimed. "It's merely an old boat." Henry reached into his jacket and pulled out a neatly folded American flag, the type presented to military families. He grasped it for a brief moment, then gently returned it to the wooden box. The crowd's restlessness intensified. Car horns blared from the parking lot. Someone initiated a slow clap, ridiculing the old man's careful gestures. "Text," a young woman remarked, "filming everything, this is pathetic. Just move on with your life already." However, Henry's slow movements weren't due to age or confusion. He moved slowly, as each action was intentional, honoring, and reverent. He opened the wooden box once more and retrieved 6 small photographs, laying them carefully against the memorial plaque. 6 young men in navy uniforms, their eyes shining with hope and vitality. "What's up with all the photos?" someone chuckled. This is not a garage sale. Henry started to untie his boat, getting ready to depart as asked. Yet his hands trembled more now, not due to age, but from something more profound. 3 decades spent returning to this very place. 3 decades of reflection. I ask for your forgiveness, dear readers. I find it difficult to contain my feelings. An individual who once stood for liberty, now facing such unfairness. Henry Briggs was an 81-year-old man. He served as a weapons technician on the USS Lancaster during the Persian Gulf War. In a daring moment aboard the ship, he put his life on the line to ensure the ammunition remained secure, ultimately safeguarding the entire crew. He received a medal but declined to appear on television, stating, "I simply did what was right." Following his discharge, he made his home in Newford Port, acquired the old boat Dawn Watcher, and meticulously restored it plank by plank. Each month, he set out alone on the water, bringing with him a wooden box containing the names of 6 fallen comrades, and he planted flags in their honor. It was a surprise to everyone that he had given away his entire pension to create a scholarship fund for the children of local veterans. A young reporter once inquired, "Why don't you share this with anyone?" He simply smiled. "I simply wish for them to be remembered." Henry's journey started 40 years ago, when he was a young sailor brimming with aspirations. He enlisted in the Navy not for fame or excitement, but because his father had fought in Vietnam and returned transformed, troubled. His father had told him, "Son, if you're going to serve, serve with honor. Keep in mind the faces of those you are safeguarding." Henry embraced those words deeply. On the USS Lancaster, he wasn't the most formidable or the most boisterous sailor. He was the person who recalled each birthday, who penned letters for shipmates struggling with reading, who spent late nights assisting younger sailors with their studies. The 6 men in those photographs were not merely his crewmates, they were his brothers. Eli Rodriguez was putting aside funds to propose to his high school sweetheart. Aaron Chin aspired to become a teacher following his service. Derek Williams, who forwarded a portion of his earnings to his grandmother. The assault occurred unexpectedly on a Tuesday morning. Missiles from the enemy hit the ship's ammunition bay. The fire rapidly expanded. The automatic suppression systems did not function as intended. Henry had the option to evacuate with the others, he should have evacuated. However, someone had to manually override the systems to avert a catastrophic explosion that would have claimed the lives of everyone on board. For 47 minutes, Henry remained in that blazing compartment, his hands scorched by hot metal, inhaling toxic smoke, skillfully managing systems that ensured the survival of 300 men. He rescued all but 6, the 6 who returned to assist him, the 6 who refused to abandon him. When rescue arrived, they discovered Henry unconscious, holding tightly to the dog tags of his fallen friends. The doctors stated that he shouldn't have made it through. Henry mentioned that he endured because 6 angels refused to let him surrender. The medal ceremony was broadcast across the nation. Henry donned his dress uniform, standing at attention as the admiral spoke of heroism and sacrifice. Yet, when the cameras turned to him, his mind was consumed by the 6 empty chairs in the audience. After his discharge, Henry had the opportunity to choose any job and live in any place he desired. Defense contractors presented him with highly rewarding opportunities. The VA sought him to be their spokesperson. He opted for Newford, a serene fishing village where his identity remained a mystery. With his savings, he purchased the Dawn Watcher, a 30-foot wooden vessel that evoked memories of the fishing boats from his childhood. Each component of that boat was meticulously restored with purpose. The deck where Eli might have stood, the cabin where Aaron could have slept, the bowl where Derek would have observed for dolphins. The memorial plaque held significant meaning beyond mere decoration. It was crafted from molten metal salvaged from the USS Lancaster, inscribed with 6 names and a single vow, never forgotten. For 3 decades, Henry maintained his monthly tradition. On the anniversary of their deaths, he would navigate to the precise coordinates where the Lancaster was ambushed. He read their names aloud, shared stories of their accomplishments, and placed their flags in the water. He consistently showed up each month, undeterred by storms, illness, or the solitude that accompanied being the only guardian of their memory. The scholarship fund was not widely advertised. Henry collaborated discreetly with local schools, recognizing children of fallen service members who required assistance. Nina Martinez, whose father passed away in Afghanistan, and Logan Thompson, whose mother completed 3 tours in Iraq and returned home with PTSD. Henry would tell the school counselors that education is our way of honoring them. Every child who has the opportunity to learn is a triumph. He resided modestly in a 1-bedroom apartment situated above the marina office. His walls were adorned, not with his own accolades, but with graduation photos and thank-you letters from scholarship recipients. The boat served as his refuge, his place of worship, his link to a greater existence beyond his own. As onlookers spotted an elderly man in a weathered boat, Henry perceived a drifting tribute to the finest individuals he had ever encountered. While the group of young people live-streamed their mockery, a powerful sound echoed through the air from afar. A military UH-60 Black Hawk helicopter swooped down behind the marina, generating enormous waves that surged against the shore. A man in uniform emerged, accompanied by a contingent of officers. "This is Admiral Robert Keane, the Naval District Commander." He approached the group of young people confidently, gazed directly into the live-streaming camera lens, and stated, "That man's boat is living heritage. You're ridiculing a part of our living history." The young people became quiet. The live streamer swiftly switched off the camera. Admiral Keane knelt and saluted Henry, addressing the crowd, stating that no one should ever disrespect someone who has saved the lives of countless individuals among us. The marina management promptly released a public apology and designated Pier 7 as the Dawn Watcher Memorial Zone. One individual from the group that was mocking offered an apology, yet Henry merely smiled softly. "I don't require any apologies. I simply want everyone to grasp the importance of respect." The Admiral's arrival was no accident. That morning, the daughter of a naval officer was at the marina and observed the harassment. She identified Henry from the old military photos her father had and promptly contacted the base. "Admiral, you have to check this out," she said, pointing to the live TikTok feed. "They are degrading Henry Briggs." Admiral Keane recognized that name. That name was known to every senior naval officer. Henry Briggs was a remarkable figure, the individual who single-handedly averted one of the most significant naval disasters in contemporary history. The Admiral had commanded, "Get me a helicopter." At this moment, as the Black Hawk touched down, its rotor wash sent the young people's stylish hair flying and toppled their designer drinks. However, that was just the beginning of what followed. Admiral Keane, a leader who had guided thousands of sailors through 3 combat zones, stood at attention and executed a flawless military salute to the elderly man in the weathered jacket. "Henry Briggs," he declared to the now quiet crowd, Congressional Medal of Honor recipient, Silver Star, Purple Heart, the hero who saved 300 lives aboard the USS Lancaster. The quiet was overwhelming. The sound of water gently lapping against the boats filled the air, accompanied by the distant cries of seagulls, yet there was not a single human voice to be heard. The TikTok girl, who had been capturing every moment, gradually lowered her phone. Her followers had surged from thousands to tens of thousands in an instant, yet now she longed for solitude, wishing no one was observing her. "This vessel," Admiral Keane went on, gliding his hand over the Dawn Watcher's worn rail, "serves as a living tribute. Each piece of wood, each bronze fitting, was meticulously restored by a man who bears the names of 6 fallen heroes." He turned to face the crowd, his voice resonating with the weight of genuine experience and sacrifice. "Do you really believe this is merely an old boat? This demonstrates greater bravery than what many exhibit throughout their lives." The marina manager, feeling the weight of the situation, approached with his cap in hand. "I sincerely apologize, Mr. Briggs. Pier 7 is permanently yours. Free of charge, with no limitations." A middle-aged yacht owner, who had been laughing just moments before, approached with tears glistening in his eyes. "My father was in the Navy. He would feel embarrassed by my actions at this moment. However, it was Henry's reply that left everyone in shock. Rather than responding to their apologies with either anger or satisfaction, he calmly replied, "Thank you for your service, Admiral. These young individuals are not the adversaries. They simply weren't aware." He faced the group, his gaze warm yet resolute. "Your apologies are unnecessary. I really hope today provided you with some valuable insights. Each individual you encounter has a narrative to share. Each veteran, each elder, each stranger. Each one is important." The young man who had once ridiculed Henry stepped forward, his confidence entirely vanished. "Sir, we were unaware. How were we to know?" Henry offered a wistful smile. "You weren't able to. Perhaps another time. You'll inquire before forming an opinion." Admiral Keene bestowed upon Henry a flag that had proudly waved over the Pentagon. "For exceptional service that exceeds expectations and for embodying the highest ideals of our Navy each day since." The audience started clapping, initially at a gentle pace, but gradually escalating to a resounding cheer that resonated throughout the whole marina. Other boat owners came out from their vessels. Dock workers paused their activities, and families strolling along the pier joined in. As the Black Hawk readied for departure, Admiral Keene offered Henry a final salute. "Wishing you smooth sailing and favorable breezes, Henry. The Navy will always remember." Henry stood on the deck of his boat, hand placed over his heart, as the helicopter ascended into the sky. The American flag on his stern waved gracefully in the rotor wash. In that instant, all those gathered felt a profound recognition of having experienced something truly sacred. If you found yourself in that situation that day, what actions would you take? Discuss justice, honor, or chills? The video capturing the helicopter landing and Admiral Keene's remarks gained immense popularity, racking up over 9 million views within just 24 hours. The story was covered by major television networks and newspapers. The guardian of fire amidst turbulent waters. The tale of the Dawn Watcher. A memorial plaque was placed by the city council next to the pier, featuring Henry's quote. "Please refrain from inquiring about my actions. Inquire about what you safeguard for the legacy of this nation." A collection of 11th grade students composed handwritten thank you letters to him. A girl who had benefited from his scholarship assistance wrote, "I will remember you forever." The original TikTok creator went live to offer a public apology and initiated the Respect the Old Vets campaign. More than 1,000 individuals shared photos using the hashtag #DawnWatcher to emphasize the importance of looking beyond appearances. The surge of social media was unprecedented for the small town. News teams from CNN, Fox News, and NBC showed up within hours. The marina parking lot was bustling with satellite trucks and reporters. This is Rachel Martinez reporting from Newford Marina, where a seemingly minor act of disrespect transformed into a profound lesson in honor and sacrifice. The narrative echoed well beyond the confines of the military. Educators incorporated it into civics lessons. Pastors in the church spoke about it during their sermons on humility. Social media influencers, a number of whom had established careers through mockery and pranks, started to rethink their content. Lily Rodriguez, the TikTok creator who initiated it all, found herself facing both criticism and an unforeseen chance for redemption. Her follower count dropped significantly as people became aware of her involvement in the harassment. However, when she shared a heartfelt, emotional apology video, the response was unexpected. She said, her voice breaking, that she had been so focused on getting likes and views that she forgot there was a real person behind her camera. "Mr. Briggs showed me that creating viral content isn't worth causing harm to someone who has served our country." Her apology video attracted 15 million views and ignited a wider discussion about the responsibilities of social media. Lily collaborated with veterans organizations to produce content that celebrated service members instead of ridiculing them. The marina underwent a transformation. What was once a private haven for the affluent transformed into a destination for many. Families traveled for hours to visit Pier 7. Veterans from all over the nation traveled to meet Henry and exchange their personal stories. Local businesses welcomed the change. The Marina restaurant has introduced the Dawn Watcher special, with all proceeds benefiting veterans' charities. The gift shop offered small bronze anchors inscribed with "Never Forgotten." Henry proposed using profits to support military families. However, the most significant transformation may have been experienced by those who observed it directly. 6 months later, the young man who had once ridiculed Henry, Tyler Hayes, joined the Coast Guard. He shared with reporters that day transformed his view on everything. "I came to understand that I desired to contribute to a cause greater than my own interests." The yacht club that rented the marina for their exclusive event released a formal statement. "We did not succeed in maintaining the principles we professed to embody. As we progress, our events will feature acknowledgments of local veterans and their valuable contributions." Schools across the country started to include the Dawn Watcher story in their educational programs. Students were tasked with interviewing elderly individuals in their communities, to hear their stories and to recognize that everyone possesses dignity and value. The #sign Dawn Watcher has developed beyond the initial event. Individuals started recounting experiences where they had misinterpreted others. Moments when they had demonstrated compassion towards someone who appeared unique. They had come to understand that appearances can be misleading. A documentary filmmaker reached out to Henry to share his complete story, but he chose to decline. He stated that the story isn't about him. It's about honoring those who are unable to share their own narratives. Henry collaborated with a nearby high school to establish a memorial garden, providing students with the opportunity to learn about local veterans. 6 benches, each inscribed with the name of one of his fallen comrades, encircled a central flagpole that proudly displayed the American flag each day. Thousands attended the garden's dedication ceremony. Admiral Keene made a return for the event, accompanied by governors, senators, and Gold Star families from throughout the region. However, Henry was adamant that the ceremony should stay uncomplicated. There will be no discussions regarding his bravery. There is no emphasis on his medals. It was a moment dedicated to honoring the names, not only those of his 6 friends but all the local service members who sacrificed their lives for their country. With the autumn leaves drifting down in the memorial garden, Henry frequently spent his early mornings there, laying fresh flowers and softly conversing with the empty benches. Henry persisted in residing in his modest home by the port, continually repairing his boat and venturing out alone each month to sail. Pier 7 welcomed visitors each weekend, who brought flowers or small flags. At Newford Elementary School, a classroom was named Henry Briggs Class Silent Actions. Sometimes, people would see him sailing out at sunset, standing on his boat's bow, eyes toward the horizon. The final line appeared. "Not every hero makes the front page. Some just need calm seas, gentle winds, and respect." Henry's morning routine never changed. Coffee at sunrise, checking the weather, inspecting every line and fitting on the Dawn Watcher. But now he was rarely alone. Young people from the high school's maritime club volunteered to help with maintenance. "Mr. Briggs, can you teach us how to splice rope the Navy way?" Families brought their children to meet him, to hear stories about service and sacrifice. Henry would sit on his boat's deck, sharing tales not of his own heroism, but of the ordinary people who did extraordinary things. Eli Rodriguez could fix any engine just by listening to it, he would tell wide-eyed children. Aaron Chin taught half our crew to read better. These are the stories that matter. The Dawn Watcher became a floating classroom. Local schools organized field trips where students learn maritime skills while hearing about naval history. Henry insisted that every lesson include time for questions, not about combat or medals, but about values, friendship, and taking care of each other. On quiet weekday mornings, Henry would notice other elderly people visiting Pier 7. Korean War veterans, Vietnam veterans, Gulf War veterans, all drawn by the simple recognition that their service mattered. They would sit together without words sometimes, watching the water, understanding things that couldn't be explained to those who hadn't served. The memorial garden grew organically. Families added benches for their own lost loved ones. Not just military, but police officers, firefighters, teachers, doctors, anyone who had served others. Henry's monthly voyages continued, but now he carried more than 6 names. Hundreds of people had asked him to remember their fallen loved ones during his peaceful moments at sea. As winter approached, Henry began training younger volunteers to maintain the memorial garden and assist with the boat. "I won't be here forever," he told them gently, "but the remembering has to continue." The TikTok girl Lily visited regularly now. She had become one of Henry's most dedicated helpers, using her platform to share veteran stories with younger audiences. "He saved my soul," she would tell people. "I was so lost in fake internet drama that I forgot real people existed." On the first anniversary of the helicopter incident, thousands gathered at the marina, but Henry was where he always was on that date. "By myself on the ocean, I call out 6 names to the breeze, set 6 flags afloat, honoring a vow made 4 decades past. If an ancient vessel can hold the memories of a whole generation, then a gesture of respect from you can safeguard values for the future. Kindly like, share, and comment if you agree that no hero goes unnoticed."